Hey everybody, Nick Espinoza, your chief security fanatic here. And in social media news, we have to talk about warning labels for social media because I think that's an excellent idea. Now, for the record, I'm using an article from Politico by Ruth Reeder and Rebecca Kern to crib from, and that, quite frankly, will be very apparent once I start talking about this as to why I chose Politico over all of the other reporting bodies. So here's what's going on. A push by Surgeon General Vivek Murthy to essentially slap the warning labels on social media, think of the labels we see on tobacco products, all that kind of stuff, is essentially splitting users across the board when he talked about this on Monday, June 17th. So, in addition to calling for a warning label, he had an op-ed in the New York Times that included a wish list of provisions for social media safety legislation. So far, I'm loving this. Now, Dr. Murthy said that getting tech companies to disclose harms is a good goal, but that a Surgeon General's warning has specific advantages. Quote, many people know about Surgeon General's warning. They've seen them on alcohol bottles or on tobacco products. I think our office has a long history of being trusted on issues related to public health, end quote. And yes, absolutely. I think that's why this is a really interesting push. And quite frankly, I hadn't even thought about that. But when we are talking about social media, you can't divorce that from the mental health crisis it's created. So I think this is a really good thing. But here's the thing. Dr. Murthy has basically no power to issue warnings unilaterally. So the only thing he can do is beg Congress to act. And so basically, this is not going to happen at the federal level because right now, Congress couldn't even agree on what to order for lunch at this point, as we all know and are watching this. And I don't care how connected to politics or not you are, they honestly are deeply divided. So getting this passed is not going to happen. So let's briefly dive into where this may actually get traction at the state level, which is what we see constantly when it comes to these kinds of things like privacy protections. Now, a handful of state level experiments to regulate social media use for kids are either too new or they haven't taken effect, or they're possibly stuck in legislation, though lawmakers say a Surgeon General's that the Surgeon General's column could essentially give them a new push, more ammunition for all of these proposals. So, for example, Colorado recently created a law that will require social media companies to send pop-up notifications to users under the age of 18 if they spend more than 1 hour engaged with that social media platform. And so the information about basically mental and physical impacts of using social media would also be delivered to those younger users, although quite frankly, you know, if you're buying a pack of cigarettes and you're 80 years old, you should be reading that label too. Now, the requirement for that in Colorado would start in 2026. Dr. Murthy's idea could also create momentum for other pushes as well at the state level. In California, for example, Jim Steyer, CEO of Common Sense Media, who actually, I believe, ran for president in 2020 or 2016, and like 6 people voted for him. So basically, he's been involved in efforts in various states to safeguard children from the harms of technology, said that he will push for warning labels in California in the absence of federal action. In Florida, for example, Governor Ron DeSantis also pushed for non-adoption of social media until the age of 16. I think all of these are really good pushes, regardless of your political affiliation. But I think, and if you're a longtime listener and a longtime follower of mine, you actually know what I think. I don't even have to say what I think. But for those new people, I think this is a great thing because I have been speaking for years on the harms and effects that this has had on younger generations. And studies have shown that essentially if kids do not adopt social media, and when I was growing up, this wasn't even a thing. And I think a lot of you listening to this or watching this, it's probably the same thing. Social media didn't exist. But now we have longitudinal 15 plus years evidence of just how bad this is. We have seen massive spikes in both boys and girls, especially girls though, in both depression and suicidality, all those kinds of things, and obviously the harms that it has. And so if you're adopting social media at the age of 19 or older, studies have also shown that you're more well adjusted to this. You know, not to mention shortened attention spans, you know, access and exposure to things that are a huge problem. You know, we talk about like, you know, book banning of specific things. Well, my God, the internet's a million times worse than any book or graphic novel you could possibly read with the content out there. You can't say that's not true. So there's a lot that I think goes into this. But at the end of the day, I mean, I think the social media experiment has essentially proven that it has made the world a much more divisive, much more depressed, much more lonely place. And quite frankly, I think that deserves warning. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it, but man, convince me otherwise. I think that's going to be a tough one. And please like, share, follow me here on Facebook and Twitter at NickAESP. And please feel free to subscribe to me at YouTube as well. And as always, stay safe, stay online, and please attempt to stay private. Thanks, everybody.